Let's get into it. This is document 1231, Exhibit 1, which is Colleen Hoover's deposition. It's 74 pages, so I don't know if I'll get through this uninterrupted, but let's try. Okay, so I will start with page 22. It's actually the first page of this document. It's page 3, I should say, sorry. But the deposition starts at page 22. And the beginning of it says, yes, that's Colleen's answer. And the question is, why did you write that book? What inspired you? Oh, let me make sure who we have. Does it denote anything that I should state right off the start? Let's see. Nope. So I don't even know what attorney is questioning currently. And why did you write that book? What inspired you? Answer: my mother and my father were married until I was 2, and I know that she suffered physical abuse at the hands of him, and it was always very confusing to me how that relationship happened. Because my mother is an extremely strong and independent woman, and I decided to put myself in her shoes for with the book and, kind of understand why women stay as long as they do or why they find it hard to leave. I I it was loosely based on my mom and my father's story. Question: were you modeling the character of Lily as a strong, independent woman after your mother? Answer: yes. Question: now the book became popular on the book talk community of TikTok, right? Yes. What is book talk? Book talk is a kind of a hashtag they use on TikTok to describe when people are, and then there's an off record discussion. Should I pause for a second? Miss Zeldin, no, it's okay. Keep going. And then it jumps to page 30. Answer: yes. Question: you talk a little bit here about the nonprofit that you founded. Is that the Bookworm Box? Yes. And then you mentioned a 501c3 called Book Bonanza. Yes. What is Book Bonanza? Book Bonanza, well, the 501c3 was called the Bookworm Box. Book Bonanza was an event that we started to help raise funds for the Bookworm Box. It was a signing that went on for we did it once a year for 5 or 6 years. I can't remember the exact date. And you said it's a signing. Uh-huh. How many people typically come to Book Bonanza? Probably 3,000, including the authors. So authors, in addition to yourself, attend Book Bonanza, about 200. And do people pay an admission price? Yes. That's how you fundraise? Yes, and we do sponsors. And then it skips to page 33, and they're in the middle of a question. Him on April 11th, and talk a little bit about your fears and what you've learned about him, correct? Yes. And at the top, you say, my big fear is I'll option to someone who thinks it's a hot romance and they'll take it in the absolute wrong direction. Yes. Why was that your big fear? I feel like the film or the book had a good message, and romance has a stigma that every romance novel is just about sex. And I wanted to make sure that that wasn't the film they would be making. You didn't want it to be focused on sex? Right. I wanted it to reflect the book. And would in your view, the theme of the book be more female empowerment than sex? Yes. And then in the next paragraph, you talk about the fact that one of the film options that you previously did was not a great experience. I think you mentioned that before. Yes. So you were letting Mr. Baldoni know this here. Yes. And then if you go down to, oh gosh, the, and then it skips to page 37 in the middle of something. I don't know if, oh, it's an or a question, was based on his life and a violation of his copyrights. Miss Zeldin, objection. The witness: I was not aware. Miss Hudson, at some point did you enter into an agreement to give Wayfarer the film rights for It Ends With Us? Yes. And at the time, did you know that Mr. Baldoni would direct it? No. What was your understanding at the time of who would direct it? Well, I knew that, signing the rights was the first step and that they would have to find distribution, a director, other producers. So we really, it was just the first step. So I didn't know what was to come. And you told, but he did not express desire to direct it. So that you expressed here that you had hoped a woman would direct it? Uh-huh. Did you tell that to Mr. Baldoni? Yeah, I believe we had conversations about it. At some point, did you learn that he was going to be the director? Yes. How did you learn? At first, I was in a room with him and his whole team. The first time I heard he was interested and he had brought it up in that room, and that was the first time I knew that he wanted to direct it. And what was your reaction when he brought it up? I think everyone's reaction was concern, and they expressed it and said that they think it should be a woman who directs it, and they're the screenwriter, and I can't remember her name. Christy Hall. I believe that's who was in the room. He said, "Well, what if we co-directed it, she and him?" And they spoke on that for a minute or two and didn't decide on what they would do. And so then he asked me directly after his team had expressed concerns and asked what I thought about him possibly directing it. And I said that I would prefer a female director, but if that wasn't possible and they couldn't find one, that I felt like of all men, with him having the platform he did based on women, that he would be one of the few men I would be okay with directing it. Did Miss Hall express interest in co-directing the film with Mr. Baldoni at the time? I don't recall. And do you recall who from Mr. Baldoni's team was in the meeting? No, this was my first time meeting everyone, and there were several people on Zoom on a screen, so it was a number of people, maybe 8 or 9. And do you recall the general sentiment of why there was pushback on the concept of Mr. Baldoni directing it? Yes, because the film was centered around domestic violence, and everyone was just concerned that having a man direct it. When did you learn that the decision had been made and Mr. Baldoni was going to direct it, notwithstanding the concerns? I don't recall the date, but I he did let me know that he was going to be the director, but I don't know how that came about or what conversations were had. Did you know that Mr. Baldoni would also star as the lead character Ryle? I don't know if I knew that at the time. When did you learn that? Then it jumps to page 46. That was never a worry of mine. I would have been fine if they went with an unknown, if she could do the job. It didn't hurt to have Blake Lively, right? It didn't hurt. Now, you mentioned earlier that you had hoped to be involved in writing the script. At some point, did you learn that a script had been written? Yeah. When did you learn that it had been written? Yes. I don't recall. And were you involved in the writing of the original script? I I actually had talked to Justin about writing it myself, and once and he agreed to that, but once I started, I realized I was not the person for the job. I had a lot on my plate at the time, and he had mentioned that script writing with him, like, he liked to be involved as the script was being written, and that's just not a way I can work. And so I told him I no longer wanted to write it. Did you hope to have input though in the script? Yes. And when did you have input into the script at some point? I requested to read the script several times, and Justin repeatedly told me it wasn't where he wanted it yet for me to read it, and so I was not involved in the script as it was being written. I was involved after it became a draft he was happy with, and not with writing, but with feedback. Feedback. Yeah, you said yeah there. I'm going to ask you, is that a yes? Yes. Was there a meeting that you attended in which the script was discussed? Yes. What when was that meeting? I don't recall. I believe it was I don't even remember the year if I'm going to be honest. Okay. I'm going to hand you a document that we marked. We have marked as Exhibit 5. Okay. Exhibit 5 marked for identification. By Miss Hudson. Question. Exhibit 5 is an email chain. At the bottom, it's from Colleen Hoover, Samantha Emmer, CCing Andrew Caloff, and Justin Baldoni, dated July 14th, 2022, with a forward from Mr. Baldoni to Jennifer Abel, Matthew Mitchell, and Jamie Heath on August 15th, 2024. It's bait stamped Heath 4821 through 22. Mrs. Hoover, you're not on the top of this text change. Jane, the forward, but you sent the one on the bottom. Is that correct? Yes. And you recognize this as an email that you sent and participated in? Yes. And it looks like at this time, July 2022, you may have been to a visit. You were, it looks like you were getting on a plane. Is this when the meeting took place? Yes. So what happened at who was at that meeting? So Justin had held a contest for readers to read the script and attend his offices, and that was what the meeting was. Everyone read the script, and then they had a discussion with the readers who had been selected about, and they just kind of asked some questions in the script. And because they were still in the process of writing it and wanted to see what readers thought of it at that stage. And how did you feel about your role in that script meeting? Objection. I was Miss Hudson then says, let me start. Let me ask you a preliminary question. What was your role in that script reading? Objection. My role, I thought would be to go into and be a part of the discussion, but Justin had me not to speak, had asked me not to speak during the script meeting. Miss Hudson, did he tell you why? I I think it was because he didn't want me to ask questions that could influence readers' questions, but that was the first week I had access to the script as well. Did you have thoughts that you wanted to share? Yes. Did you have thoughts that you would have liked to have shared at the meeting if you could have? Yes. And when you wrote this email with these notes, was this your attempt to share the thoughts that you couldn't share at the meeting? Well, I I asked him how I could get my thoughts to him, and he said that they were on a time crunch and that if I had thoughts to send them that day. And so after the script meeting, I went back to my hotel before my flight and wrote these thoughts, but it was based on what I had read during the meeting that day. He had given me the script a few days before this, but it was during Book Bonanza, which is the busiest weekend of the year, and I didn't have a free second to really write down thoughts or read it. Were you satisfied with the input that Mr. Baldoni was taking from you at the time? Objection. It was early. It was early on, so I can say that I wasn't satisfied that I wasn't given the script as it was being polished or made to his liking. He he would not send it to me. I thought that it'd be nice to have earlier input as it was being written. Did you ever share with Mr. Baldoni your thoughts on how intimacy should be portrayed in film? I don't recall. I'm going to hand you Exhibit 6. Thank you. Okay, Exhibit 6 is a text chain between Jamie Heath, Ange Gianetti, Justin Baldoni, and Alex Sachs. Miss, it's bait stamped Heath 51557 through 558, dated April 30th, 2023. Mrs. Hoover, you are not on this text chain, correct? Yes. So in the first text in this chain, Mr. Baldoni forwards something that he purports is from you. Do you see that? Yes. It says, from Colleen. Uh-huh. Take a moment and read that. I just want to know if you recognize this as something that you wrote to Mr. Baldoni. I just read it and it is something I wrote and sent to him. Okay, and at the bottom paragraph of this, you write, it's fun sitting alone and reading detailed sex scenes to some people, but not many want to be in a theater watching them. In movies, it's way more important. We see those angsty looks and forbidden small touches, flirtation, than an extended sex scene. Fade to black is always nice in movies. Some of these movies that focus on romance think women want to watch sex, but they couldn't be more wrong. We want to watch love and emotions and angst and buildup, and then using our imagination from there is fine. Are those words that you wrote? Yes. And is that an accurate description of how you felt intimacy should be portrayed in this film? Yes. And why did you think that this was an important way to portray intimacy in this film in particular? Ms. Zeldin, objection. I didn't want, as I stated earlier, I didn't want this film to be portrayed as, with lots of sex scenes. I wanted the focus to remain on the heart of the book, which was Lily and her bravery and her leaving an abusive situation. Okay, at some point the film began shooting, right? Yes. Were you involved in the actual shooting of the film? No. Did you visit the set? Yes. When did you visit the set? Was it being filmed in 2023? Oh, she's Colleen says, "Was it being filmed in 2023? So do you recall that there were 2 periods of time in which the film was shot?" "Yes." "Interrupted by a writer's strike?" "Yes." So the first phase of filming, we'll call it, does May 2023 sound like the right time to you? "Yes." "And were you visiting at that time?" "Yes." "And where was the pre-production office located?" "I believe it was in New Jersey." "How many times did you visit the pre-production office in New Jersey?" "Just just that one time." "How long were you there?" "Maybe an hour." "Were you in town for something else?" "Yes." "And can you describe your meeting with Mrs. Lively?" "I was just introduced to her. It was very brief." "What was your initial impression?" "I thought she was" objection, "very kind, and it was a good meeting." I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. "I thought she was very kind, and it was a good meeting." Okay, I wanna focus, and then it skips to 61. "Selected and felt, but in a way that because she was honored to be there." Miss Hudson, did you take that as a complimentary to you, having created her character? Her not not really. I think as an actress, it was just complimentary to whoever casted her. Okay, the you said you were not on set during the second phase of filming. Right. I was invited, I didn't go. And why did you not go? I don't recall. When was the next time that you interacted with Mr. Baldoni in person? That was objection. The day of the trailer screening in LA? What was that? I can't remember. Was it May 6th of 2024? Yes. And then it's oh, no, that's in order. Okay, possibly. I don't know. And did you have a dinner with Mr. Baldoni that day? Yes. Who else was present at the dinner? Jamie Heath and Taryn Fisher. Who is Taryn Fisher? My best friend. Did Miss Fisher come with you to the trailer screening? Yes. And can you describe the trailer screening? What was it? They had invited influencers and readers to come and watch the trailer early before it released to the public, and there were, I wouldn't call it a, yeah, there was an event afterward where we interacted with people. Justin and I sat behind a makeshift flower booth and made bouquets of flowers, and then I also did my EPK that day. And what is an EPK? When you record promo for the movie, and the promo that you recorded for the movie, was there some sort of pre-written script for you? Yes, it was mostly all done on a teleprompter. And then it skips to 65. Mrs. Hoover, I'm going to hand you a document that will mark as Exhibit 7. Oh, 8. I'm always one off. You had mentioned a dinner that you just went to with Taryn Fisher, Jamie Heath, and Justin Baldoni that you thought might have been May 6th, right? Uh huh. Does this document refresh your recollection that it was, in fact, May 6th? Yes. Okay. And this is a text chain between Jamie Heath, Justin Baldoni, and Colleen Hoover, dated May 6, 2024, Bates stamped Baldoni, 33,449. And do you recognize this text chain? Yes. And did you participate in it? Yes. Okay. What was the purpose of this dinner? I don't recall. We had just never had a meal together before, and we were together all day doing PR, but I think it was mostly because, this movie was halfway through being made, and we didn't really interact a lot in person, and so, since I was in LA, we just all decided to have dinner. And up to that point, did you feel that you had been able to give the creative input that you had wanted to give into the film? Objection. I I feel like no. And what is it that you wanted to do that you felt you hadn't been able to do at that point? I objection. I felt like I wanted to be more involved in just the sense of knowing what was going on with the filming. And I was not receiving dailies. And as an executive producer, I found that confusing. And I ended up having to go to Sony to ask for dailies. Just because without knowing what was going on or seeing what was being filmed every day, I didn't feel like I could give input because I was just unaware of what was happening. And what is a daily? A daily is what's being what was filmed that day. They kind of condense it to what scenes they're going to use and send it all to the producers and whoever else is on the daily list. And you mentioned you were an executive producer on the film? Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. And what were the duties of an executive producer to your understanding? I think it depends on who it is. I didn't really have duties per se. Executive producer, I was told, was more just like a title they give people. The producers who are the ones who do the producers who are the ones who do the actual work. But you felt in an executive producer role, in order to contribute creatively, as you had expressed, you needed to see the dailies. Objection. Yes, and being the author of the book, I received all the dailies on the project I had done before this. And there was uh and there were other things that were being filmed that I was getting dailies on that were not this movie. Who did you first ask to see the dailies? Justin, maybe Jamie, I don't remember, but they were really my point of contact. And when did you first ask them to see the dailies? When the film started filming? So back in May of 2023? Uh-huh. So now, is that a yes? Yes, sorry. That's all right. So now we're in May of 2024. So in that year, you had not received dailies. Yes, I started receiving dailies because I asked Ange Gianetti to if I could get them, and she was shocked I wasn't getting them. So she started making sure I was on the list. And when was that? Probably June or July of filming of 2023. Uh-huh. Is that a yes? It was the year before this. So yes, 2023. And who was Ange Gianetti? She worked for Sony. Did you understand her to be the executive in charge of the production for Sony? She was the one on set while I was there, so and then it jumps to 70. At the time, I didn't know because I hadn't seen the final edit. So to understand how it was working, you received dailies. You periodically gave creative input. You did not know whether that input was incorporated into the film one way or the other. Right. Did you find Mr. Baldoni to be collaborative with you up to this time period of this dinner on May 6th? Objection. I did. I felt at the time that when I would give thoughts, which wasn't very often, he was receptive, but I don't know that I knew if they were being taken into consideration. Going to this dinner on May 6th, how long did the dinner last? I believe we were there for a couple of hours, and generally what was discussed at the dinner. The edit and Blake. Do I need to go into more detail? I will ask for more detail. And then it jumps to 74 was I don't. Okay, so going back to the dinner on May 6th, what do you recall to the best of your memory? Who said what about the edit then? About the edit, about Blake getting her own cut, I believe Justin was the one who told me that it's possible the movie could change from what I saw because Blake was getting an edit and was going to have a test screening in what they call a bake-off, which is where they see which one tests better. Did Mr. Baldoni explain to you why it was the case that there would be a bake-off of his view at least? Yeah, he said that. I'm trying to remember. I don't know that it was pertained to the bake-off. I know that he said that Blake was demanding her own edit and that Sony was allowing her the opportunity to edit the film because she was unhappy with his cut. Did he tell you what Mrs. Lively was unhappy with in his cut? He insinuated that it was more, or his opinion was that she wanted to take over the film. Is that how he described it? And is that a yes? Yes. Did he say anything else in that regard? You'd have to be more specific. Did he tell you why she thought Miss Lively wanted to, quote, take over the film, end quote? Yes, at this dinner, he informed me that this had been an ongoing issue, which in him that I believe the exact words they used were, "We're not saying she's a narcissist, but she's exhibiting narcissistic behavior, and that she was making their lives very stressful during the filming, and it was not a good experience." And I remember being shocked because I had heard none of this before the dinner, and this was well after filming had resumed. I had already seen the film at this point. And did they give you specific examples of what Mrs. Lively was doing in their view that was upsetting to them, either Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath? Yeah, they explained to me that she had a meeting that blindsided them about their behavior and that it was at her house and that she forced them to sign a document stating they wouldn't exhibit that behavior anymore or she wouldn't resume filming. And who was between the two of them shared this with you, Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath? It was both of them. So they were talking at the same time, kind of bouncing back and forth off of each other. Did either Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath describe to you the specific behavior that was in this document? They did. What what did they say? And if you can, to your recollection, tell me which one of them said what. And if you can't recall, that's fine. But if you can recall with specificity who said what, please tell me. I know. I know Justin said that Blake had put in the document that she wants him to stop speaking to her dead father, and I asked him to elaborate on that, and he said that he told her that he sometimes speaks to her father, who's dead. Yes. Did you have any objections on that? Objection. I I was a little confused. I didn't know what he meant by that. I didn't know if he meant he prayed to her dead father or just like if it's part of his spiritual or religious practice, but he did say that he said it, but that it bothered her. Another thing was something about saging interns and that she had asked that he no longer sage her interns, I believe. Saging, do you mean like with the herb sage? Uh-huh. Is that lighting it on fire? I didn't ask what. Okay, that meant there was another incident where Jamie she said that they need to stop going into her trailer while she's breastfeeding, and he then went on to explain to me what happened with him going into her trailer. This was Jamie, not Justin. He said that he went into her trailer invited because they had to go over they had no discuss they had to discuss something, and I'm not sure what they were discussing, but that he had agreed to turn and face the wall, but that at some point during this conversation, he turned around to say something to her and that she was going to file sexual harassment or that he feared she would file sexual harassment claims against him, but he was telling me this because it was all in this document that apparently was going to come out, and so they were just trying to prepare me for what was in the document. I believe those are the only few things I recall them telling me that night. Did Mr. Heath tell you that he had looked at Mrs. Lively when she was in a state of undress from the waist up? Objection. He did not explain how he was dressed or she was dressed or anything. Is there anything else you recall Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath telling you about the document that they signed? I I know they were telling me that they felt like if they didn't sign it, then the movie wouldn't happen, and that's why they signed it. But the few things that they did tell me, they said that they did like the saging and the praying to her or talking to her dead father. So I wasn't at the time aware of what all was in the document. But that's all I can really recall. And it jumps to page 80. Did you have any concerns after the dinner? Objection. I think I was just disappointed. And why was that? I didn't know Justin and Jamie all that well, but I know that, you know, I just thought that everything with filming had gone well, and I was concerned that now there seemed to be like all over the edit about to occur, and that concerned me. And I was just disappointed that all this was happening. Were you concerned that Mr. Heath felt like Mrs. Lively was going to make sexual harassment allegations? Objection. No, I didn't know that was happening. Well, you said that he was worried that she was going to claim sexual harassment, right? Objection. Well, for from when he was speaking about the incident, I don't remember the exact words, but I remember them just concerned that that incident was going to turn into some sort of claim or be released publicly. They they were worried about this document. They were worried that it would be released publicly, Yeah, I believe so. I don't recall if that was, spoken, but it was definitely implied that they did not like that this document was existed. Move to strike, non-responsive. And what did Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath say specifically to lead you to the conclusion that they did not like that this document existed? I I can't recall the exact wording. It was just the entire conversation at dinner. They were very much disappointed that they didn't, or Blake didn't get along with them, or they didn't get along with Blake, and that they had to have this meeting, and that they felt blindsided because they didn't know that she had concerns with their behavior at the time. Did you ever come to learn that Mrs. Lively had previously told Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath about her concerns before? No. The meeting? I had bef No. Before this dinner? Before the meeting they're describing, which they said they were blindsided? Objection. No, I had just become aware of that any of this was happening. Did you have any concerns about the way that they were speaking about Mrs. Lively following this dinner? Objection. I don't know that it was a concern rather than just disappointment. Like, I did feel like for for a man who has a platform of building women up, that I left the dinner disappointed, that it felt like I was made to not like her. Like I felt I left the dinner feeling like the intention was to get me on their side, or, just explain their side before I heard it from her. And is that the kind of thing that you would have expected from Mr. Baldoni based on what he had told you about his views early on when you optioned the book? Objection. No, not at all. And why is that? Objection. I I think I was just a little blindsided by the dinner and everything I was told, and the way they were kind of forewarning me about the kind of person she was. And did you have any reason to believe the portrayal that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath were making of Mrs. Lively up until that point based on your experience? Objection. No. Did you recall anything that you or Miss Fisher said during this dinner? I don't think we were just asking questions. Like, I remember I was just very concerned about the film at that point, and I was asking him questions about, well, does this a mean for what does this a mean for the film? Sorry, that's a typo, I guess. Does it jump? Yep, to 85. And I said that didn't go how I thought it would, and she said, "Me neither." And we discussed our surprise that they didn't get along, and that all of this was happening. Like, this was the first I had found out about any of it. So this dinner was May 6th. Did it change your views of Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath at that time? It did. In what way? I felt like if they could speak of Blake how they did, it made me more cautious with them. And what do you mean by that? I just didn't really want to interact with them anymore. I think after that dinner, I texted with Justin and Jamie a handful of times and never spoke to them again. Did your views of Mrs. Lively change after that dinner? No, I didn't know her. I didn't know if the views or the things they told me were accurate. I just kind of wanted to distance myself from all of it. At some point, did you reach out to Mrs. Lively? I did. I'm going to hand you a document to be marked as Exhibit 10, 9, I'm sorry, 9. Miss Hudson, Exhibit 9 is an email chain between Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover dated May 15th, 2024, Bates stamped BL 27030 through 33. Mrs. Hoover, do you recognize this as an email chain with Mrs. Lively that you participated in? Yes. And the first email in the chain is from you on May 15th at 7:11 a.m. Do you see that? Yes. And above that, Mrs. Lively responds to your email and she says, "May I have your number?" Do you see that? Yes. So as of this date, you and Miss Lively had not had a phone call. Right. Together. Never. You didn't have each other's phone numbers? I didn't have her email. You didn't have her email? Yeah. How did you get this email to her? I have a production partner because I started a production company around this time, and I was concerned about what Blake getting a cut meant, and so I spoke to her about it, and she recommended that I send the notes that I had given to Justin to Blake because she said, "You don't know which one's going to end up being what your readers see, so you want both of them to have your notes. And so her our agent, film agent, somehow got me Blake's email, and I sent this email to Blake. Just I wanted to give her the same notes that I gave Justin, as my priority was, I wanted the best movie for the readers, and I was concerned based on the tension between the Justin and Blake that Justin would not give Blake my notes, so I sent them. You felt like you needed to send your notes directly to Mrs. Lively? Yes. And are these the same notes that you gave Mr. Baldoni? Yes. And in your email, you said that you wanted to get the notes in the right hands. What did you mean by that? To Blake in the right. Can I read that? Sure. For context, yes. She examines the document. It's the end of the first paragraph. You said, I also sent these to Justin a while back, and some may have been addressed already, but I have zero experience with movie making and wanted to make sure they are in the right hands. I think I just meant if Blake was getting a cut, I wanted to send them directly to her instead of like relying on Justin to send them to her. Okay, and Mrs. Lively asked for your number. Did you give her your number? I did. Did you have a telephone call with her following this email? I did. And what was it, just you and her? Yes. Was it on May 15th? It was the morning I sent her my number, so if that's what the email is, then yes. Do you recall what you discussed? Yes, she had read my notes and was discussing some of the notes with me and said that she agreed with me on a lot of them and wanted me to come watch her edit. So she invited you into the edit room? No, she was having a screening. Sorry, she wanted me to come to New York and watch her screening so that I could see what she had done. Okay, I'm going to hand you what we'll mark as Exhibit 10. Exhibit 10 is an email chain between Mrs. Hoover and Blake Lively dated May 15th, 2024, Bate stamped BL 27039 through 43. 43. Do you recognize this as the continuation of the prior email chain that we looked at in Exhibit 9? Yes. And you participated in this email exchange? Yes. So in this email exchange, you see you gave her your phone number? Uh-huh. On at 6:50 a.m.? Yes. And then you said she invited you to the screening. Was that during the phone call? Yes. Okay. And you tell her in response here that you would love to go to the screening? Yes. And did you, in fact, go to the screening? Yes. And what was your impression of the film after you saw the cut that Mrs. Lively was working on with Sony? I liked her cut also, and also had more notes. So as soon as the film ended, I went into a room at the theater and jotted down everything I could think to give her because I didn't know if I would have the opportunity after that to give notes. But I liked both cuts. Exhibit 11 marked for identification. I'm going to hand you what we marked as Exhibit 11. And do you recall if you spoke to Greenstein after this introduction? And so this is a jump from 90 to 93. I honestly don't recall. All right, so you saw the film on the 19th. You were thanking Mrs. Lively. Did you think about the cut of the film that she had screened it all after the initial viewing? Yeah, yes. And did you share your thoughts with her? Yes, I wrote a lot of them down at the screening and gave them to her, and then we continued to discuss the thoughts over text and phone calls. Uh, okay, I'm going to hand you Exhibit 13. Exhibit 13 is a text chain between Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively, dated May 19th, 2024 through May 20th, 2024, Bate stamped BL 39197 through 201. Do you recognize this as a text chain that you participated in with Mrs. Lively, Miss Hoover? Yes. So if you go down to the bottom of this chain, it says from you at 9:37 p.m. I'm sorry, at 11:14 p.m. I loved Josh so much. We're chatting again tomorrow, but I feel like he's a good one. Thanks for putting me in touch with him. So by this point, had you already had a conversation with Mr. Greenstein? Yeah, it does look that way. But sitting here today, do you recall that conversation? I don't. Okay. And then the next entry, you say, actually, why don't you read that one out loud at 4:50 a.m.? Blake, oh my gosh, Josh gave me a password to watch again because he wants me to get you my thoughts ASAP. So I watched Justin's latest and yours side by side. I have a list of 57 things I loved about yours more. You killed it. It's so hard in the theater to focus when you're nervous and people are talking, but seeing all the improvements you made solidified and already saw a decision. I'm going to bed, but we'll send you thoughts ASAP in the morning. I really believe in this adaptation and think with this week's edits that you're doing, it's going to be life changing. My God, thank you. I'm sorry this is a day late. I know I told you it was great already, but I can't wait to type up all the whys and get them to you tomorrow. Did this accurately describe how you felt at that time? Yes. And what was it that you saw when you had the opportunity to look at the cuts side by side that you liked more in Mrs. Lively's? I definitely thought hers had more humor in it. That was very important to me. I remember there were a couple of scenes with this character Atlas that bothered me in the first cut I saw that were removed from Blake's cut. I can't recall exactly all of the things that I liked more about her cut, but I did feel like my concerns in the initial notes I sent her, a lot of them had already been addressed. So, are you saying you think she may have made some changes between May 15th and when you saw the not based on my notes? I see. I think just that we had similar intuition about some of the scenes. So, just to make sure I understand what you're saying, you, between the time you gave notes on May 15th and you saw the screening yourself alone with Justin side by side, there had been some changes to the cut that Blake was working on that you liked. And it jumps to page 99. Did it seem strange to you that his name was on there 3 times? Objection. Yeah, I think on the poster it was a little bit much. You mentioned that you shared your detailed thoughts with Mr. Greenstein on the cut of the film that Blake had shown that you watched side by side with Mr. Baldoni's cut. Uh-huh, yes. Exhibit 14 marked for identification. I'm going to hand to you what we'll mark as Exhibit 14. Exhibit 14 is an email between Mrs. Hoover and Mr. Greenstein dated May 20th, 2024, bait stamped SPEBL 7880 through 88. Mrs. Hoover, are these the notes that you sent Mr. Greenstein regarding your thoughts on the cut of the film that Blake had been working on at that point? Yes. And in the second sentence, paragraph, you say, I don't know Blake well enough at all, but I do think it's important she know all the things I loved about her changes. Would you describe this as a summary of the things that you loved about the changes? Yeah, and some additional notes that I thought should be changed. And do you know if Mr. Greenstein shared these notes with Mrs. Lively? I believe I asked him. I was sending them through him to her, but then he said to send them directly, if I'm not mistaken. And then did you do that? Yes. And was Mrs. Lively receptive to receiving the notes from you? Yes. Objection. And when you say receptive, what does that mean to you? Acknowledging that she received the notes and would consider them. Exhibit 15 marked for identification. Miss Hudson, I'm going to hand you a document that we've marked as Exhibit 15. And then oh, no, it doesn't jump. And Mr. Stinson, we sent a proposed stipulation this morning. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that about the bait stamping and the production here, so I wanted to see if we could put that on record. Our understanding is that the text messages in Exhibit 14 that were 15 that were produced by Mrs. Hoover are her communications with Josh Greenstein based on the way they were produced to us. Can you confirm that for the record? And now this is Mr. Stinson. I can confirm that those conversations were produced in a digital folder bearing that label. I haven't had a chance to go back to confirm. I can do that on a break, or we can take a break and I can do that. But I can tell you we produced it in digital folders describing with whom she was conversing. Okay, I need a little drink break. I'm like, interesting. I'm a little confused on Mr. Stinson and how he just materializes all of a sudden. Okay. Back to Miss Hudson's question. All right. Well, we might be able to avoid that by asking Mrs. Hoover herself. So, Mrs. Hoover, do you recognize this as text communication between you and Mr. Greenstein in this section, Bates stamped Hoover 0090 through 98? Yes. I'm sorry, 99. Yes. Okay, and how did you collect these text messages that were produced to us in this case? How did I, like, get them in this form? Yes, they were on my phone. Did you screenshot them? I don't I don't think I screenshotted them. I think I downloaded the whole conversations that I had with him and then just sent the file to my lawyer. So this is the full conversation downloaded from your phone that you had on text with Mr. Greenstein. Yes. Objection. You have to wait till I make my objection. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Is this the whole conversation downloaded from your phone that you had with Mr. Greenstein? Yes. Objection. Yeah, counsel, can I ask the basis of your objection? I have no idea how this is this is Mr. Zeldin. I have no idea how this is all conversations. I don't know how she does either, but Hudson, okay. Zeldin, so it lacks foundation. Hudson, okay. And then Miss Hudson starts again. Mrs. Hoover, you when you say it was the full conversation, was this all of the texts that existed in your phone that you were able to view between you and Mr. Greenstein? Yes, we didn't text that often, so I think this is the very conversation I had with him over text. Okay, now, okay. You mentioned that Mr. Greenstein told you to just send the notes directly to Mrs. Lively. Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. And is that what he's saying at the text that begins at the end of 090 on May 20th at 2:14 and continues on 91? At the top it says, "Got it. Just read through. Send for sure. I think they are great. Smart." Miss Zeldin, I'm sorry. I think you misspoke. You said 2:14. It's 2:41. Not that it matters, but you're correct. Thank you for correcting the record. So I just want to confirm that the top of this page, 091, is Mr. Greenstein telling you to send the notes to Miss Lively. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Okay. And then if you look down at the next text on May 23rd at 6:53 p.m., it looks like you're texting Josh about plans for the next night. What what did this relate to? I don't recall. Okay. And then if you scroll down to May 31st, 092 at 2:57 a.m., you say, "I'm busy from 9 to 11 tomorrow if you want to chat after." But despite what the numbers say and feedback say or don't say, I really think we need to choose a cut and move forward. And as it stands, I think Blake's is the stronger one to move forward with. It just checked a lot more boxes for me, and I strongly feel she can work it to be the best film and edit so that we can ultimately get to the best film. For the readers, I appreciate the work put into this by everyone. Does that jump? Nope. But the back and forth at this point is going to hurt this movie beyond measure. Let me know if there's anything I can do to convey my feelings wherever I need to convey them. Was this accurately how you felt at this time on May 31st? That Blake's was the stronger one to move forward with and checked a lot more boxes for you? It was, yes. And at some point, did you begin discussing Book Bonanza with Mr. Greenstein? Yes. So, what was your thought for Book Bonanza with respect to the film? I had approached them about a year earlier, hoping to show the film at Book Bonanza, but was told no, that it was too. I think their reasoning was that it was too far away from what was supposed to be the release date, or too. Honestly, I can't remember why they said no. But then as Book Bonanza drew closer and they realized that they were going to have a whole film they could show, they changed their minds. And so we began moving forward with plans to show the film at Book Bonanza. And then it jumps to 109. One question mark. You can just set it aside. We'll probably pop back to that in a minute. Exhibit 16 is an email chain between Emily Vanderwerken, Colleen Hoover, Danny Magan, and Todd Michalak regarding Book Bonanza's schedule. Bates stamped SPE-BL 19747 through 750. Is this an email chain that you participated in, Miss Hoover? Yes. And do you recognize this as the schedule for Book Bonanza that was provided to you by Sony? It wasn't the schedule for Book Bonanza. It was the schedule for their part of Book Bonanza. So promotional things that Sony was doing in connection with Book Bonanza. Yeah, in connection with Book Bonanza and the movie. Okay. So if you look at the schedule, it starts Saturday, June 15th. Yes. Do you see that? Is that when Book Bonanza began? Yeah, well, it began on Thursday. Okay. The 15th is when they were going to show the movie. Okay. And was there going to be more than one screening? They rented out a whole theater, and so it was screened in every theater because we had to seat almost 3,000 people. And did it screen on only one night or more than one night? Just one night, all at the same time. Did you invite Mrs. Lively to Book Bonanza? Yes. Did you invite anyone else from the cast? I believe everyone. Well, that's not true. I only invited Justin initially. Blake, Brandon, Sklenar, Isabel Ferrer, and Alex, who played young Atlas. And I believe I invited Jenny Slate. Uh-huh. So all of the main characters? Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. And who actually went to Book Bonanza? Blake Lively, Justin. No, not Justin. Brandon Sklenar, Isabel Ferrer. Why did Mr. Baldoni not go to Book Bonanza? Objection. I I believe because him and Blake didn't get along, and so Sony or someone decided which one of them would go. I'm not sure at this point. Did anyone tell you why Mr. Baldoni did not go to Book Bonanza? I'm trying to understand if your answer is speculation or you have some basis for making that statement. I just knew he wasn't coming, but I can't remember why I knew that. I know that he and Blake would not attend at the same time because at this point they they were they wouldn't be together in the same location. Did Miss move to strike? Did Mrs. Lively ever tell you that she would not go to Book Bonanza if Mr. Baldoni was there? Would you say you were collaborate oh, it jumps to 120. So 111 to 120. Would you say you were collaborating on the edit by this point? Not in an equal way, but yeah, yes. When you say not in an equal way, what do you mean by that? I mean, I had never edited before. I had never worked in film, so, I'd give her my opinions, but she was more or less the one who was doing all the work with the editor and had all those interactions. And I just would tell her my thoughts and hope they ended up listening to them. Did you spend time in the edit room with Mrs. Lively? I did. And did you meet the editors that she was working on the cut of the film for Sony? Objection. One of them was in the room with us. One of them was over Zoom. And do you remember what their name was? Uh-huh, Travis. I don't remember his last name. Was in the room with us. Was it Moore? Yes, loved him. And God, Shane? Shane Reed. Shane Reed. Okay. Yeah, he was the one on Zoom. How many times did you say you were in the edit room with Blake? I believe I was there for 5 days, but I could be wrong. I don't remember counting. And when you were in the edit room with Mrs. Lively, were the editors both there also? Travis was there. And then Shane would mostly do stuff like that they gave him notes on, and then he would work independently because I believe he was in LA. And what was your contribution in the edit room? I sat with them and watched all the changes and was giving my opinion, and I guess whatever. I I yeah, that's all I can think that I did. I'm going to hand the reporter a document to be marked as Exhibit 19. And then it jumps to page 126 and ends a question manipulation tactic. I felt like when Blake would change something in her edit, they would then add some of those changes to try to get their edit a little better, or that's not the right term. Well, going back to your text, you say that you think that he said he added those changes, but he really didn't do it when you looked at the film. Yeah, I felt like he said he added some of Blake's things, and sometimes he did, but in this particular instance, I must not have thought that they were actually changed in the scenes that I got. But I also felt like I wasn't included in these emails anymore, and so just the fact that it came to me, I felt like was a little manipulative. I see. So he, Mr. Baldoni, was not including you in the edit process the way that Mrs. Lively was including you in the edit process. Objection. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Would you say that any differently than I did? No. So when you got this email, you wondered why he was sending it to you. Right. Yes. Let's look at page 27120. In this section of the text, I'm sorry, we're going back to, okay, thank you. Exhibit 20. Sorry about that. Okay. Going back to Exhibit 20, if you look at page 27120, There's a discussion here about your sister seeing the cut of the film that Mrs. Lively was working on. Yes. Do you see that? And you seem to be saying that she had very strong feelings about it. Is that right? About the graphics, I believe. I see. Okay. And then it looks like there was some change and your sister liked the changes. Is that right? Yes. And does it jump? Yeah, 127, 134, and it starts with an answer. Yes. And dinner, is that the May 6th dinner? Yes. That we talked about? Okay. All right. And why was that dinner making you angrier every time you thought of it? I think because of the way they spoke about Blake, and I feel like I went into the dinner thinking that we were just going to have dinner, that it was a chance for us to get to know each other better, and instead, I ended up feeling like we only went to dinner so that they could tell me their opinions of Blake before I heard about what was happening, and I felt like if I cut off communication with them, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to have those conversations with me again. And Mrs. Lively at 11:10 p.m. tells you, next time we talk, I want to hear it because I find myself feeling guilty for pushing back so hard on them to make the best movie. And I haven't shared with anyone my experiences with them until someone first comes to me horrified by their own experiences. And even then, I don't get into all of this. Was that your experience with her, that she wasn't sharing all the details of what she experienced? And it jumps one page to 136 and starts, can't remember each point. Mrs. Lively goes on to say in this next text, yet somehow I hold those guys' narrative in my gut and it hurts to be so misrepresented after being so viciously mistreated. Do you know what she meant by those guys' narrative? Yeah, I believe it was probably the narrative they had about her at the dinner with me. That's how I interpret this. And then Mrs. Lively says, "And all I'm fighting for is the work. That's all I've ever fought for is the work. And in that, a safe set to do the work in. That's it from day one to today." Did you have any reason to doubt that Mrs. Lively was genuine in what she was telling you there? Objection. No. And then you go on to describe a little bit more. It looks like this dinner on May 6th at 11:33 p.m. And you say, yeah, honestly, the narrative wasn't anything too different than what you just told us, just from their angle. It's just when I was sitting, and it jumps to page 147, had to change the abuse, would have sent you, but I didn't record last night because I was on such a chaotic deadline, will tell you everything. Did you understand that Mr. Rothman had some changes for Mrs. Lively that he required her to make in order to show the film at Book Bonanza? I Yes, I was aware that he wanted changes to the film. And did you understand that she worked very late in order to make those changes, so that she worked late every single day on that movie? I've never seen anyone work so much in my life. So you find her to be a very hard worker. Yes. And then the movie was shown at Book Bonanza. Is that right? Yes. And how did it go? It was the best day of my life. And tell me why. We had, well, for one, hosting a convention is a full-time job in itself. And then being told days before that you then are adding a whole other essential convention, getting all those people to a movie theater just felt like lots could go wrong. And then, nope, no jump. Everything was seamless. Sony sent so many people to make sure everything went well, and everyone was so happy, and it was just a great night all around. And how was the reception from the fans? A lot of crying, a lot of joy. I don't think I heard one negative thing. That must have been very satisfying for you. It was so much fun. Exhibit 24. I'm going to hand you Exhibit 24. Exhibit 4, sick, is a text change between Mrs. Lively and Mrs. Hoover, bait stamped BL 28508 through 509. This Do you recognize this, Mrs. Hoover, as a text chain between you, Mrs. Lively, and Travis Moore? Yes. I'm sorry, I left out Shane Reed. And Shane Reed. And Travis Moore and Shane Reed, as you previously described, you were the editors that worked with Mrs. Lively in the editing room, and that you had met when you were in there too. Correct. And you recognize this as a text. And now we're getting to page 64 or 61 of 74. So we're very close to the end here. And this is, I think the rest of this deposition kind of just makes me a little bit ill. Uh, you recognize this as a text chain that you participated in. Yes, okay. And at the top, Mrs. Lively says could not have gone better. I can't wait to tell you everything. I don't cry, and I'm in the car crying. It was such a beautiful experience. What did you understand her to be describing? She was letting Travis and Shane know how well it went because they also had worked very hard on the film and weren't able to be there, and she was just letting them know that everyone loved it. And you wrote, it was amazing. The audience gave a standing ovation or cornvation. Inside joke. Inside joke. Was there a standing ovation? Yes. What other than, I mean, a standing ovation is a big deal. Were there any other reactions from the crowd? Was there yelling? Oh, yeah, all, shouting, and everyone was just supportive. And I felt they were happy with the adaptation. But yeah, there was a lot of like cheering, and it was a beautiful moment. Okay, we're going to go back to Exhibit 15. If you can find that in your pile, and I'm going to draw your attention to Hoover 95, there's a text at the bottom at June 16th at 7:07 p.m. And this is the text chain that you previously said was between you and Josh Greenstein at Sony. Do you recall that? Yes, and it looks like Mr. Greenstein says, "Congratulations, heard it could not have gone better." Is that a text from him? Yes. And your response is, it was so great. Everyone loved Blake in the movie, and even the transferring of all the people went well. Great weekend all around. Thank you for making it happen. Do you know how it got back to Mr. Greenstein that it had gone so well at that time? No, I don't know who told him. Exhibit 25, and it jumps to page 152. Yes, and you participated in this text exchange? Yes. This document is dated August 14th through 15th, 2024, bait stamped BL 21264 through 268. This is the text exchange after the premiere of the film? I believe so. Okay. Do you remember when the film premiered? I don't. Does August 9th sound right? Yeah. Okay. I think can we all agree that this film premiered on August 9th? So this was after. No, the premiere was the 6th. This 9th was the release. Miss Hudson. Fair enough. Premiere was August 6th. Release was August 9th. Miss Hudson. But this was after the film. The final film was public, right? Uh-huh. Okay. Yes. Sorry. No problem. What if you take a look at the top of the page on 21267? No problem. What if you take a look at the top of page 21267? There's a reference to an Instagram post for Wayfarer Studios that posts an article that says, "It ends with us, ending explained. Why Justin Baldoni changed Ryle's fate." Did you see that Instagram post when it was posted? Yes. And did you have concerns about it? Yes. And is this text exchange between you and Mrs. Lively, you telling her about the concerns that you had with this post? Yes. Okay. And did you tell anyone else you had concerns with this post? Justin and Jamie. And what did you tell them? I asked them to take it down because it was not true. And what about it was not true? He did an article about how in the script and in the movie he had Lily leave Ryle, and Ryle did not get custody and was no longer in their lives, and it upset me because the online narrative at the time was very much against the females in the movie, or not that were involved in the movie. Blake and Isabella, were getting a lot of online hate, and I felt like Justin was posting things, and all the comments on it were about how great he is for talking about domestic violence and all the stuff while we were silent about it. And this article in particular was very damaging for me because it made it look like I should have, not that I should have written the ending differently, but that he chose to change the ending. But I knew that wasn't true because after I'd written book 2, we had many conversations about a potential second movie, and in order for there to be a second movie, he would still be part of Lily and the child's life. And so I felt like this article and this interview he did He did it to try to make himself look like he was aligned with what people were saying negatively about us and not actually speaking the truth in it. Uh-huh. And so I asked him and Jamie if they could please take it down because it just wasn't true. Uh-huh. And what was it that made you feel that Mr. Baldoni was sharing an article for the purpose of affecting the conversation? Objection. Miss Hudson, well, if I missummarized that, feel free to correct me. I I felt like at this point in time, the movie had released, it was doing really well, but stuff just suddenly started popping up online negatively about Blake and me and the way we marketed the movie, and it was all just really shocking. And I think the most shocking thing was how silent Justin was about the online abuse the women in the movie were getting. Uh-huh. And this was, to me, went against everything he would preach about supporting women, and I felt very much disappointed that the people who made this film were staying silent when especially Blake was getting so much online hate. And a lot of it was about the flowers and her wearing floral jeans, and I just didn't understand why all of that was being said when Justin and I made bouquets and like this was his movie and I'm sure he approved the marketing plan and that we went along with. And so I was very confused why the things that we were being vilified for were not being defended. What or set straight. What would you have wanted Mr. Baldoni to do? Objection. It would have been nice if he or Sony or Jamie, like shared the marketing plan and like literally like I showed up and did all of my PR and worked my ass off, excuse me. And I f- I felt like, oh, and when I say that, I mean about the PR and I read a teleprompter a lot of times. I did exactly what I was told to do, but then afterward, a lot of the stuff we talked about in the interviews, we did at the press junket, and a lot of things about domestic violence, like they were just not shared anywhere. And so we were online, it made it look like we were completely ignoring the subject and we're having fun and playing with flowers, and it just felt very unfair that the women were being vilified for the things that I also saw the men do. So, did you share your feelings about this specific article with Mr. Baldoni? Yes, I did. Did you share them with Mr. Heath? Yes, it was a group text. I've handed you what we marked as Exhibit 27 is a series of texts bait stamped Hoover 237 through 256. And Mrs. Hoover, based on the way that this folder was produced by your counsel, our understanding is that this is the complete text chain that you have in your possession between you, Mr. Heath, and Mr. Baldoni as a group text. Yes. Is that correct? Yes. And Mr. Stinson, did you check that at the lunch break? Yes. Okay. And then it jumps to from 157 to 174. So there's a pretty good chunk taken out here. And 174 starts confirm that what follows Mr. Baldoni's response on 252 is your response to him. It is. Okay. And that continues through 255. Yes. All right. You can set that aside. Let me just ask you a question. You mentioned this negative online commentary directed towards the women of the film. Uh-huh. At this time of August of 2024, did you experience that yourself prior to the premiere on August 6th? No. It was it was it was pretty sudden and shocking, to be honest. I mean, I experience negative stuff online all the time. But if you're referring to, like the negative commentary regarding the marketing and all that stuff, that was all new. And had the marketing changed at all in terms of the themes? I mean, it was pretty much done by the time the movie came out. I didn't do any more marketing after that. But the types of, florals and things along those lines that were being marketed after the film premiered and following, were they any different than what you had been doing at Book Bonanza, for example, or in any of the other promotional experiences you had participated in? Not that I know of. But after the premiere, when everything started kind of going south online, I'd just stay offline. So I don't know if there was how they marketed things online. I don't have knowledge of much after the premiere. And the negative online, can you tell me more specifically what you were experiencing? Just when I would try to post about the movie, a lot of attacks and comments that I wasn't used to, along the lines of my having unfollowed Justin, people were curious about like what the discourse was. And then people were starting to express that they were upset by the absence of Justin in some of the promo. And but you know how the internet is. They can't say it in a kind or concerning way. So it was just a lot of attacks. And then also just all the articles that were out there about everything related to the movie that were negative. At some point, did you delete your Instagram? And then it jumps to 253. So again, major section taken out of here by Miss Selden. And you never appeared in pictures at the premiere with Justin, is that correct? No, I was ushered down a line and took to my seat. Don't I didn't even I was only in pictures with whoever was in the tent as we were walking through. So that wasn't a photo shoot like experience as far as I know. If Justin had asked you to be in a photograph with him, would you have done so? Objection. Probably not that night, no. By Miss Selden. And why not? I was upset with him for things I had heard, things you had heard from, been told by Blake. I see. And things you had been told by Blake are the same things we've been talking about before, and some other stuff. What other stuff? She told me that well, the religion thing, for one, that he told everyone on set that we met through his faith. She told me that he would use my name and tell everyone that we were basically best friends. And so when he wasn't getting his way in a scene, that he would say, well, the author wants it that way. I can't recall other things. I don't know. I see. So these were what you would call, okay, I just want to stop on that comment right there because as somebody who works in theater, this is very common. A lot of times directors will there are a lot of directors that especially when you're doing a script or the writing from someone else and it's not a script written for the director or that kind of a thing, the director will often be you read the script word for word. Whatever the writer put in the script, that's exactly how you say it. There's some directors that are like they don't want any improvisation at all. Some are a little bit more lenient and they'll say like, "Okay, let's do a little improv here," and then with the writer's approval, uh they'll make an adaptation of a scene, but only with the script writer's approval. And then and then others, you know, it just depends on who the director is. But more often than not, especially in theater, the director, because more often in theater, the director is not a person who wrote the script. Um, they will really hammer away that what the script writer put in the script is exactly what should be said. And they want you to know your lines and know what the script writer put in the notes, etc. for that scene. So this doesn't sound out of bounds. This doesn't sound unusual to me that, you know, Justin would have said something like this. And it doesn't sound like to me it sounds like Colleen is inexperienced. She doesn't know that this is typical. She doesn't know that this is the way that often happens behind the scenes with a director and the way that a script is handled. And not only that, but because it goes again back to the idea that in the arts industry, every single position is battling the for the industry to uphold the integrity and uphold the power and position of every single person that's on set. So it's pretty unorthodox for an actor or actress to come in and be like, I don't like the way that's written. Especially in the theater industry, you would be hammered by so many people in leadership if you as a performer were to be on stage during a rehearsal and be like, I don't like that line. And then offer a rewrite kind of a thing yourself because you're disrespecting the position. You're disrespecting the professionalism. That's the word I'm looking for. Every single position has been battling for their professionalism, their contributions to be respected and regarded, like, so that's kind of like what the writer's strike is about. That's what the SAG strike was about, is that all of these positions want to be respected and regarded for what they contribute. And so this does not sound out of bounds or atypical that Justin would be like, "Hey, this is what the script or what the the author put in here, or what the author wants depicted." And also in that way, I think Justin probably was doing this to stop some of the power play, because we've seen how Blake has used Taylor's name and everybody else's name to, bull in a china shop her way through everything. So back to the deposition reading. So these were what you would characterize these things as gossip. Objection, maybe. Zeldin. So I just took it as things she had experienced and told me. Like, I didn't know if they were accurate or not. Did you do anything to verify that Justin had in fact said that he met you through church? No, because at the time I already wasn't speaking to Justin because of the things that happened between he and I that had nothing to do with Blake. Did it upset you that she was gossiping? Objection. I mean, there were a lot of times that I preferred, all the time. And then it jumps to 297 and is the end. So let me read that last page, 254 again, just so we have clarification. Through his faith, she told me that he would use my name and tell everyone that we were basically best friends. And so when he wasn't getting his way in a scene, that he would say, well, the author wants it that way. I can't recall other things. I don't know. Question. I see. So these were what you would characterize these things as gossip. Objection. Maybe. So, and then the attorney gets interrupted. I just took it as things she had experienced and told me. Like, I didn't know if they were accurate or not. Did you do anything to verify that Justin had in fact said that he met you through the church? No, because at the time I already wasn't speaking to Justin because of the things that had happened between he and I that had nothing to do with Blake. Did it upset you that she was gossiping? Objection. There were a lot of times that I preferred. All the time and then that's the end of the page. I'll make a separate post. That is the reading of Colleen's deposition. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking in. I'm going to make a post about my other thoughts about her deposition.